After Christmas night, I woke up in an empty house. My whole family secretly went on a luxury vacation with my money. Keep an eye on the house. Finish the leftovers, the note read. So when they returned and opened the door, well, let's go. My name is Jenna and I'm 25 now. Looking back, I can see how stupid I was 3 years ago when I decided to stay living with my parents after college. I had just graduated with a degree in computer science and landed a great job as a data architect at a big insurance company. The money was good, really good for someone fresh out of college. I could have easily afforded my own apartment, maybe even a nice one-bedroom in the city, but my parents had other plans. They sat me down one evening in our cramped kitchen, and my mom put on that worried face she always wore when talking about money. "Jenna, honey, we really need your help," she said, wringing her hands. "The mortgage payments are killing us. Your father's salary just isn't enough anymore." Dad nodded along, looking tired. "If you could stay here and help us out just for a while, it would make such a difference. We're family, right? We stick together." They asked me to pay $1,000 a month toward the mortgage. At the time, it seemed reasonable. I'd be saving money on rent, and I'd be helping my family. Plus, I wouldn't have to deal with cooking or grocery shopping. Mom said she'd handle all that. "Think about it," Mom continued. "You come home to a hot meal every night, no worrying about utilities or cleaning, and you'd be helping your little sisters too." My twin sisters, Sarah and Emma, were 14 then, just starting high school. They were typical teenagers. Loud, messy, always giggling about something. But they were my sisters, and I loved them. So I agreed. I started transferring $1,000 every month to my parents' account, but that wasn't all. I also gave them money for groceries, for the family's food. Sometimes it was another $300 or $400 a month, depending on what we needed. At first, everything felt normal. I'd come home from work exhausted, and there would be Mom setting plates on the table, calling everyone for dinner. The smell of her cooking filled the house. Roast chicken, spaghetti with meat sauce, her famous beef stew. It was nice not having to think about what to eat or spend an hour cooking after a long day at the office. During family gatherings, my parents would brag about me to our relatives. "Jenna's doing so well at her job," Mom would announce proudly, "and she's so good to us, helping out with the house payments. We're so lucky to have such a responsible daughter." The praise felt good. I felt like I was being a good family member, contributing to something bigger than myself. When my college friends talked about their struggles with rent and grocery bills, I felt smug about my decision to stay home. I started buying nice gifts for everyone's birthdays and holidays. For Mom's birthday, I got her a beautiful necklace that cost me almost $300. For Dad, I bought expensive tools for his workshop. For the twins, I'd get them whatever was trendy: designer shoes, electronics, gift cards to their favorite stores. In return, they gave me gifts too. But looking back now, I can see the pattern that was already starting. My gifts to them were thoughtful and expensive. Their gifts to me were, well, clearly bought on sale or at the last minute: a cheap candle set, a clearance sweater that didn't even fit right, a gift card to a restaurant I'd never mentioned liking. But I didn't think much about it then. I was just happy to be helping my family and living comfortably. About 6 months after I started contributing to the household, I noticed our washing machine was making weird noises and not cleaning clothes properly. So I bought a new washing machine. It cost me $800, but I figured it was an investment in all of our comfort. When it was delivered and installed, everyone was thrilled. A few months later, I replaced the old microwave that barely heated food anymore. Then the coffee maker that had started making coffee that tasted like burnt water. Each time my family was grateful and excited. By the end of my first year living at home, I had replaced most of the major appliances. I also started buying new furniture. The living room sofa was falling apart, so I got a nice sectional that cost me $1,200. Then I redid my own bedroom with a new bed, dresser, and desk setup. Everyone loved the changes I was making to the house. But something else was changing too, something I didn't notice at first. The thank yous were becoming less frequent. The praise was getting shorter and less enthusiastic. Sometimes when I brought home something new, my family would just nod and say, "That's nice," before going back to whatever they were doing. But I brushed it off. We were family. Of course, they appreciated everything I was doing. They just didn't need to say it all the time, right? Then this became the pattern. The twins would demand money for whatever they wanted, and when I hesitated or asked questions, they'd call me greedy or stingy. Then they'd run to Mom and Dad, who would gently suggest that I should be more generous with my sisters. Meanwhile, I was still upgrading the house. I bought new furniture for the twins' bedroom, matching dressers, new beds, a study desk for each of them. The total came to almost $2,000. Finally, Emma said when the furniture was delivered, our old stuff was so embarrassing. I was ashamed to have friends over. No, thank you. No appreciation, just a complaint about how long it had taken me to replace their perfectly functional furniture. I also redid my parents' bedroom, buying them a new king-size bed, nightstands, and a dresser set. Mom's only comment was, "You could have gotten the more expensive mattress. This one's just okay." That stung, but I pushed the feeling down. The worst incident happened on a Thursday night in October. I came home from a particularly stressful day at work. We were dealing with a major system upgrade that was causing all sorts of problems. All I wanted was to eat dinner and relax. But when I walked into the dining room, Sarah and Emma were in the middle of complaining to our parents about me. "She said no when we asked for money to go shopping this weekend," Sarah was saying, her voice all whiny and dramatic. "We just wanted $400 to get some new winter clothes." I sat down at the table, trying to keep my temper in check. "I didn't say no forever. I said I wanted to see what you were planning to buy first. $400 can disappear real fast if you're not careful about what you're spending it on." "See," Sarah said, throwing her hands up. "She doesn't trust us. She thinks we're going to waste her precious money." That's when I lost it. "You want money for clothes? Get jobs. That's what I did when I was your age." The room went completely silent. Sarah's mouth dropped open like I had just suggested she rob a bank. "Excuse me," Mom said, her voice cold. "I said they should get jobs if they want spending money. I've been working since I was 15. I gave half my paychecks to you guys, and I still bought my own clothes and everything else I needed." Dad put down his fork and stared at me. "Jenna, that's completely different. You chose to work early. Your sisters are still teenagers. They shouldn't have to deal with the stress and responsibility of jobs yet. They need to focus on school and being kids." "They're 17, I said. "I was 15 when I started working, and I still kept my grades up." "That was your choice," Mom said firmly. "We're not going to force our younger daughters into adult responsibilities before they're ready. They have their whole lives to work. Right now, they should be enjoying their teenage years." The rest of dinner was completely silent. No one talked to me. No one even looked at me. I finished eating as quickly as I could and went up to my room, not wanting to see them anymore. After that dinner, the atmosphere in the house became ice cold. My parents and sisters practically stopped communicating with me. They would talk around me like I wasn't there, making plans and having conversations, while completely ignoring my presence. Fine by me. I didn't care that they were sulking. I went to work, came home, ate dinner in silence, and went to my room. If they wanted to act like children, that was their problem. This went on for about 3 weeks. Then, one evening in late November, I came home from work and found my family huddled around the dining room table, looking at something and talking excitedly. They were so absorbed in their conversation that they didn't even notice me walk in at first. When I approached the table to see what they were discussing, Mom looked up and her face broke into the biggest smile I had seen from her in weeks. "Jenna, perfect timing," she said, jumping up and grabbing a colorful travel booklet from the table. "Look at this." She shoved the booklet into my hands. It was full of pictures of tropical beaches, palm trees, and luxury resort pools, Hawaii vacation packages. "You need to book tickets and hotel rooms right away," Mom continued, practically bouncing with excitement. "If we don't do it soon, we'll be stuck with only the most expensive options left. Christmas in Hawaii is going to be amazing." I stared at her, then at the booklet, then back at her. This is the first time I've ever heard about any Hawaii trip. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, we've been planning this for weeks. We already thought everything out without bothering you with all the details. We calculated all the costs, figured out the best hotels, picked the perfect dates. All that's left is buying the plane tickets and booking the rooms." Dad looked up from some papers he had spread out on the table. His voice was calm and matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather. "It'll cost $13,000 for all 5 of us. That covers flights, hotel for a week, and spending money." I stared at them. All 4 family members were looking at me expectantly, clearly waiting for me to say, "Sure, no problem," and pull out my credit card. "You're all crazy," I said slowly. "I'm not giving you $13,000 for a vacation." Mom's cheerful expression immediately turned sour. "Jenna, don't be ridiculous. I know for sure you have that money. You created that family emergency account a year ago. Remember the one where we all have access? There's $20,000 in there right now." My stomach dropped. She was right about the account. I had set it up so the family could handle emergencies when I wasn't around to transfer money immediately. but that money wasn't for vacations. That's emergency money, I said firmly. It's not supposed to be touched unless something urgent happens. Remember 6 months ago when the sewer pipe burst and we had to pay $5,000 for emergency repairs? That's what the account is for. Dad slammed his hand down on the table, making the travel booklets jump. We all need this vacation, Jenna. We've been working hard. The girls have been studying hard. We deserve a break, and you can always save up more money. I looked around the table at my family. Mom was glaring at me with her arms crossed. Dad looked irritated that I wasn't immediately agreeing to their plan. Sarah and Emma were both giving me these pouty, disappointed looks. I'm not paying $13,000 for a vacation to Hawaii, I said again, slower this time so they would understand. Find another way to pay for it or pick a cheaper destination. Without waiting for their response, I turned around and walked straight to my room. I didn't even bother with dinner. I just wanted to get away from all of them. After that confrontation, the atmosphere in the house became absolutely freezing. My parents and sisters went back to pretending I didn't exist. But this time, it was even worse than before. But honestly, I didn't care. That was their problem, not mine. What really bothered me was how they had planned this whole thing behind my back and just assumed I would pay for it. They hadn't asked me if I wanted to go to Hawaii for Christmas. They hadn't asked if I could afford it or if it fit my budget. They had just decided that I was their personal bank account. The silent treatment continued right up until Christmas Eve. I had already bought everyone their presents. Good ones, expensive ones, because despite everything, they were still my family. I also stopped at the fancy bakery downtown and bought an expensive Christmas cake, the kind with real buttercream frosting and fresh berries that cost almost $60. I figured maybe if I made an effort, we could have a nice Christmas together and put all this Hawaii nonsense behind us. When I walked into the house that evening, I was surprised by how friendly everyone was being. Mom actually smiled when she saw me and said, "Jenna, you're home. Perfect timing for Christmas Eve dinner." Sarah and Emma both said hello and actually looked happy to see me. Even Dad seemed to be in a good mood, asking me about my day at work. It felt weird after weeks of being ignored, but I was relieved. Maybe they had finally realized that their Hawaii plan was unrealistic and they were ready to move on. I put the presents under the Christmas tree and sat down for dinner with everyone. Mom had made a really nice meal. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, the works. We actually had normal conversations during dinner. Sarah told us about her chemistry final. Emma talked about the Christmas concert her choir had performed at school. And Dad shared some funny stories from his job. For the first time in weeks, it felt like we were a real family again. I went to bed that night feeling better about my family than I had in a long time. When I woke up on Christmas morning, the house was completely silent. Usually on Christmas Day, there would be noise. Mom making a big breakfast, the twins arguing over presents, Dad watching his Christmas Day football games with the volume up too loud. But there was nothing, just silence. I got dressed and walked through the upstairs hallway looking for everyone. Sarah and Emma's bedroom doors were open, and when I peeked inside, their beds were empty and made. That was weird. The twins never made their beds. I went downstairs calling out, "Mom, Dad, where is everyone?" No answer. That's when I saw the note on the living room table, right next to the Christmas tree. My hands were shaking when I picked it up and started reading. Dear Jenna, surprise. We decided to go to Hawaii for Christmas after all. We secretly bought the plane tickets and booked the hotel room a month ago, right after we first told you about the trip. We used our own money for the deposits so you wouldn't suspect anything. But this morning, we took the $13,000 from your emergency account to pay for the rest of the trip. We know you didn't want to come with us since you were so against the whole idea, so we thought it would be better if you just stayed home. You can keep an eye on the house and finish eating all the leftover food from last night's dinner. Don't worry about us. We'll be having the time of our lives on the beautiful beaches of Hawaii. Love, your loving family. I read the note 3 times before it really sank in. They had planned this the entire time. The friendly dinner last night, the normal conversations, the smiles. It was all fake. They were just making sure I wouldn't suspect they were about to steal my money and abandon me on Christmas Day. I was so angry I could barely think straight. My whole body was shaking with rage. The way they ended the note, telling me to eat leftovers and watch the house like I was their housekeeper or something. Your loving family, what a joke. I wanted to call them immediately and scream at them. I wanted to tell them exactly what I thought of their little scheme. I wanted to make them feel as angry and hurt as I felt right then. But then I stopped myself. Why would I waste my breath yelling at people who had just proven they didn't give a damn about me? Why would I give them the satisfaction of knowing how upset I was? Instead, I was going to do something smarter, something that would show them exactly what I thought of their loving family. I picked up my phone and called my work colleague, Jessica. She had mentioned a few months ago that her aunt rented out a small house and was looking for a tenant. "Hey, Jessica, sorry to bother you on Christmas Day," I said when she answered. "Is that house your aunt was renting still available?" "Oh, yeah, I think so. Why? Are you interested?" "Very interested. Could you give me her phone number?" "Of course, but Jenna, is everything okay? You sound upset." "I'm fine. I just need to move out of my parents' house as soon as possible." Jessica gave me her aunt's number and I called immediately. The woman was surprised to hear from me on Christmas, but she sounded happy to have a potential renter. "The house is small, but it's in good condition," she explained. "It's not furnished, though. Is that okay?" "That's perfect," I said. "I have my own furniture." We arranged to meet that afternoon. I drove over to the address she gave me. A cute little house in a quiet neighborhood about 20 minutes from my work. It was small but clean, with 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a decent-sized living room. "When would you like to move in?" she asked after showing me around. "Tomorrow," I said, "if that's possible." She looked surprised but pleased. "Well, if you can pay the deposit today, I don't see why not." I wrote her a check for the deposit and first month's rent right there on the spot. She handed me the keys with a big smile. "Welcome to your new home," she said. As I drove back to my parents' house, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom, relief, and a plan that was going to teach my loving family a lesson they would never forget. The next day, December 26th, I called a moving company. I told them I needed everything moved that same day and I was willing to pay extra for the rush job. Money wasn't an issue. I had plenty in my personal accounts, and I was about to save a lot more by not supporting my ungrateful family anymore. When the movers arrived, I walked through the house with a clipboard, pointing out everything that belonged to me. The new washing machine, dishwasher, microwave, coffee maker, all mine. I had kept every single receipt over the past 3 years, stored in a neat file folder in my room. Every appliance, every piece of furniture, every electronic device I had purchased was documented. "Take the sectional sofa," I told the movers, "and that coffee table, the dining room chairs too, all 6 of them." I went upstairs to Sarah and Emma's room. "Those beds, both dressers, and the desk," I said, pointing them out, "all of it goes." I did the same thing in my parents' bedroom. The king-size bed I had bought them 6 months ago. The matching nightstands, the dresser set, everything went into the moving truck. The living room was practically empty when I was done. No furniture except for the old stuff they had before I started upgrading everything. The kitchen looked bare without all the new appliances I had purchased. But the best part was taking the 65-inch smart TV I had bought just 2 months ago. It had cost me almost $2,000, and my family had been so excited when I brought it home. Dad had spent the first weekend setting up all his sports channels and streaming services. I also took all the furniture from my own room. Obviously, my bed, dresser, desk, bookshelf, even the area rug I had bought to make the room more comfortable. By the time the movers were finished, my parents' house looked like it had been robbed, which, in a way, it had been. Robbed by me, taking back everything that was rightfully mine. I drove to my new house and spent the afternoon directing the movers on where to put everything. It all fit perfectly in my new place. The sectional sofa looked great in the living room, and the big TV was perfect for the main wall. That evening, I sat in my new living room eating takeout Chinese food and watching Netflix on my reclaimed TV. For the first time in months, I felt completely relaxed. My family had been gone for a week, and during that entire time, they hadn't called me once. Not a single text message asking how I was or wishing me a Merry Christmas. It was like I didn't exist to them unless they needed my money. But I knew that was about to change real fast. I checked my mom's Facebook page once during that week, just out of curiosity. She had posted tons of photos from Hawaii, pictures of them on the beach, at fancy restaurants, by the resort pool. Everyone looked tan and happy and relaxed. The caption on one photo made me laugh out loud. "My beloved family is here, only the people who are most important to me." Only the most important people, right? The people who were so important that she stole $13,000 from the person who had been bankrolling their lives for 3 years. I screenshot that post and saved it. Something told me I might want to remember those words later. January 1st arrived, and I knew my family was scheduled to return home that day. I spent the morning organizing my new house, setting up my home office in the second bedroom, and just enjoying the peace and quiet of my own space. Around noon, my phone started ringing. Mom's number on the caller ID. I let it go to voicemail. Then Dad called. Voicemail. Then Sarah, then Emma, then Mom again. I ignored all of them and continued watching a movie on my big TV. By afternoon, the calls had stopped, but the text messages started coming in. Mom. Jenna, where are you? We're home and the house is empty. Where is all the furniture? Dad. Call us immediately. We need to talk about what happened to our things. Sarah. Jenna, where is my bed? Where is everything? Emma. Mom is freaking out. Call us right now. The messages got more and more frantic as the day went on. Mom sent me a long text threatening to call the police and report me for theft. I couldn't help but laugh at that one. Go ahead and call the police, I thought. I'll show them my receipts. By evening, the tone of the messages started to change. Mom sent a text that said, Jenna, honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We really need to talk. Please call me. I decided it was time to end this game. I called her back. She answered on the first ring. Jenna, thank God. Where are you? What happened to the house? We came home and there's nothing here. We're sitting on air mattresses. I moved out, I said calmly, and I took my furniture and appliances with me. Your furniture, Jenna? That's our family's furniture. You can't just take everything. Actually, I can. I paid for all of it. I have receipts for every single item. There was silence on the other end for a moment. Then Mom's voice got very small and scared. Jenna, please come home. We can work this out. We're really sorry about the Hawaii thing. We know we should have handled it differently. You stole $13,000 from me, I said, and you left me alone on Christmas Day to eat leftovers while you went on vacation with my money. We'll pay you back, she said quickly. It might take us some time, but we'll pay back every penny. I don't want your money anymore, Mom. I'm done. What do you mean you're done? I mean, I'm not coming back. I'm not paying your mortgage anymore. I'm not buying you appliances or furniture or giving the twins money for clothes. I'm done being your family ATM. I could hear her crying now. Jenna, please. We can't afford the mortgage without your help. And the girls are graduating this year. We still need to figure out how to pay for their college. I hung up. They tried calling a few more times that evening, but I didn't answer. Eventually, they stopped. That was 6 months ago. I'm still living in my little rental house, and I love it. I'm saving more money than I ever have in my life. Without having to support 4 other people, I'm putting away almost $2,500 every month toward buying my own place. I changed all the passwords on my bank accounts and closed the family emergency account completely. That money, what was left of it after they stole $13,000, went straight into my private savings. According to my relatives, my parents are both working overtime now to pay the mortgage and support Sarah and Emma. They're also panicking about college tuition since both twins are graduating this spring. Good. Let them figure it out the way normal parents do, with their own money and maybe some student loans. I know they thought they could keep using me as their personal bank account forever. They probably figured I'd always be too guilty or too afraid to stand up for myself. But they were wrong. And now they're learning what it's like to live without my money.